Imagine you're gearing up for a weekend wedding shoot, and the thought of missing a crucial moment because your gear can't keep up keeps you up at night. You've seen the glossy ads for high-end broadcast camcorders, but you also know that every extra dollar you spend is money that could have gone toward lenses or lighting. You're wondering if a palm-sized, all-in-one camera can really give you the professional feel without turning the whole day into a tech support marathon. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. That hesitation is exactly why I'm breaking down the Sony PXWZ90V, the hybrid broadcast camcorder that promises 4K HDR in a handheld package, so you can decide whether it's the right fit before you hand over your credit card. First off, the camera's most obvious selling point is the single 1-inch XMR-RS sensor paired with a Zeiss 12x optical zoom lens that also offers an 18x clear image zoom. On paper, that sounds like a sweet spot for everything from tight backstage interviews to wide-angle venue sweeps. In practice, the sensor size gives you a decent amount of shallow depth of-field control without the bulk of a full-frame cinema rig. I tried it at a dimly lit reception hall, and the AF didn't hunt like a DSLR would on a 1-inch chip. The phase detection system locked onto the bride's face within a split second, even as she moved across the dance floor. That confidence in autofocus is a big win for anyone who can't afford to manually pull focus while juggling a microphone and a gimbal. Low-light performance is where many 1-inch camcorders stumble, and the PXWZ90V is no exception, but it's not a deal-breaker. The sensor's native ISO range is respectable, and when you pair it with Sony's Slog 3 and SGIMET 3 picture profiles, you can pull a decent amount of detail from shadowy corners in post. The catch is you'll need to commit to a proper exposure strategy on the fly. The camera doesn't do the auto-bright and everything trick you might find on consumer camcorders. If you're comfortable setting exposure manually or using the built-in zebra patterns, you'll end up with footage that holds up better than most run-and-gun options. If you prefer a camera that simply brightens the scene for you, this might feel a little demanding. Stabilization is another practical concern for handheld shooting. The Z90V uses Sony's Optical Steady Shot, OSS, in the lens, which smooths out minor shakes, but it isn't the same as a full-frame sensor with 5-axis in-body stabilization. On a steady walk with a shoulder rig, the footage stayed rock solid. However, on a brisk jog or in a crowded environment where you're constantly readjusting, you'll still see a bit of wobble. For most event videographers who plan to mount the camcorder on a monopod or gimbal, the built-in OSS is enough, but pure handheld run-and-gun shooters should budget for an external stabilizer. One of the biggest advantages of this model is the dual SD card slots with relay and simultaneous recording modes. In a live streaming scenario, I set up a 3 GSDI output to a field monitor and streamed over both 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz Wi-Fi, while the camera recorded locally to 2 cards. If one card corrupted, I still had a perfect backup, which is a comfort factor you rarely see outside of higher-end ENG gear. The 3 GSDI output also means you can feed an external recorder or a broadcast switcher without converting the signal, which makes the camcorder a viable bridge between indie production and a small news van. Battery confidence is a mixed bag. The unit runs on Sony's NPF 970 battery, which gives you roughly 2 hours of continuous shooting in 4K. That's fine for short gigs or when you have a battery plate or external power source on hand. But for an 8th-hour wedding, you'll need at least 2 spare batteries or a mount solution. The camera's power draw spikes when you engage the high frame rate slow motion mode, up to 960 frames per second, so keep that in mind if you plan on using the super slow feature often. Menu navigation can feel a bit like stepping into a broadcast newsroom. The touchscreen is responsive, and you can quickly toggle between picture profiles, but digging into the custom settings still requires scrolling through several layers of Sony's menu hierarchy. I found the most useful shortcuts were assigning the picture profile, zoom level, and focus mode to the front dial, which reduced the need to dive into submenus mid-shoot. If you're used to DSLR or mirrorless cameras with minimalist menus, expect a short learning curve, but the depth of control is worth the